Republic for the first World Cup of the 2022 season. And it's the turn of the 5K races. Paddlers have competed this weekend over 200, over 500 and over 1,000 meters, but now it's the turn of the 5,000 meter races. We'll be racing in individual boats, in both kayaks and canoes. I'm Ali Johnson, and alongside me, Kristina Bedek, Serbian paddler. Kristina, it's lovely to have you with us on Planet Canoe. Welcome. Looking forward to the racing this afternoon?
Thank you. I'm very excited to sit here in the tower and look at the races from here. Yeah, it's gonna be a special event. It's a different tactics and strategy what athletes normally use on sprint, where they have to stay on their course. So I'm sure we will have a lot of excitement, and yeah.
I'm sure we will,
yeah.
indeed. Yes, well, I'm looking forward to having you alongside me here. We just saw the air temperature. It says 25 degrees. It's certainly quite warm. The water's warm. Not a lot of wind, just a breath of wind out there. You can see here we are at the Labe Arena Regatta course. 2,270 meters the length of this course, but they'll be racing over 5,000 meters, 5 kilometers. They have one lap, Kristina, followed by 5 small laps. And as you hinted, there we go. We've got the course there, so a little bit confusing, but we can see the start, and they'll start with a big sprint to the start, which is the light blue line going from right to left. And that'll be a big dust up to get to the turn first. They want the inside of the bend, round they go all the way back to the start again, and then 5 small laps. So a lot of tactics coming into play, as you said.
Yeah, exactly. So at the beginning, especially for men, they really have to push the start. And it's very important who is in the front group at the first turn.
Well, it will be indeed. So I'm just picking up on the graphic there. Women's C1, 5,000 meters coming up first, then men's C1, then women's kayak, then men's kayak. So there'll be a big sprint for that first turn. Why do they want to sprint so much for that first turn?
Well, it's important who is taking the first turn, because then you can be in the first group if you're in the front at that point of the race. And people try to stick to the first group. So that's definitely a decisive part of the race.
Yeah, so if those of you who haven't seen much of this racing before, a little bit like the cycling packs, and if you're behind, you can get an advantage and use a little bit less energy. And these paddlers will use the wash that comes off the boat in front of them to kind of surf the wave a little bit and save energy. That's where the tactics come in. We'll just line up the paddlers here. There's the Chilean paddler. Watch out for her, Maria Maillard, very experienced. She should be we say lane 10, and then lane 9, Wan Yin from China. Then we should see Anna Palmer from Great Britain. There she is. Anna gets some good experience here in both the 1,000 meters as well as the 5,000 meters. Magda Stani in 7 for Poland. We're moving along as we go. We've got Ludmila Babak, the Ukrainian. There she is in picture, moving left from her as we see it. Then we'll have Maria Corbera, the Spaniard, who gets underway with the start right away. Martina Malikova from the Czech Republic. Li from China. Victoria Kokandrolov from Czech Republic. And Sylvia Szubinska from Poland. So this is where they'll sprint the length of the course. A big, long, straight line, trying to be first or close to first to get round that turn, and then that's when the groups will form. So, Kristina, you're a bit of an expert at this 5,000 meters, not racing today, but you've done a few of these in your time. What do you think the key is for this first part of the race?
As I can see here, all these girls are trying to make it by themselves so far. So I can see 3 of them trying to make a point here, and the Spanish girl looks really strong. But I'm sure after a while these groups will be formed and they will start to use each other's wash. As we can see it on the right already, it's happening.
Yeah, it's interesting. You can't see very well, can you, there? But there is a wash coming off those boats. So important that these paddlers can then form a group, and so they're conserving energy if they're sitting behind the paddler in front. But they don't want to be too far behind, because then the washes get very confused and the water gets choppy, doesn't it?
Yeah, if they are staying too far behind, then it's rather disturbing than helping.
Yeah, you can see that. If you look just, there's a white boat. I'm not sure
Yeah.
who that is, but she's really struggling to steer that
Yeah.
in the waves.
Especially in canoe, it's kind of hard to steer and it's hard to stay on the wash. But I'm sure all these experienced paddlers, they will be able to solve this problem.
Yeah, indeed, especially Maria Maillard, because she did so well at the Super Cup, I remember, in Oklahoma last year. She's good at these distance events, very experienced, and very smooth. And there you can see, so we've got Maillard there in front, and we've got Babak, the Ukrainian. Now, because she's right-handed, she's in the correct place for her there, because she's sitting on that wash and she can use her paddle to straighten up a boat. But then the group breaks up and they reform once again. I think that's a Chinese athlete. Difficult to see from that shot. We'll see it when we get sideways on, but looks like she's now leading this race. Still a way to go to that first turn as I look out from the finish tower. In fact, they're not too far away from that first turn, which is around about the 500-meter mark. And then we'll get a real good view of it, so we can see the Chinese athlete. So that's the one that's leading. So Li is in front, and the Spaniard that you mentioned, Maria Corbera, in good position, though she's on the outside of the bend at the moment.
Yes, she has to take a little bit longer angle, but still she is in a perfect position if she can hang on the wash of the Chinese athlete. So if two of them can escape from the rest of the field, then they are safe for a medal.
Yeah, good point. And now caught in no man's land, lane 6. I'm not quite sure what happened to Maria Maillard there, the Chilean. She's really struggled getting a boat round that bend, maybe because she's left-handed, actually. It was perhaps a bit trickier to get round that bend, at least I think she is, which means she's paddling on the inside of the bend. No, she isn't, in fact. Yes, she's left-handed, so that could be difficult to get round. She's just about managed to get her nose almost on the wash of number 6, which is Ludmila Babak. So if they can form a group, they'll then battle it out to see if they can catch up the first two, which is the Chinese paddler. We can see them in picture now. Li, along with the Spaniard Maria Corbera, although she's on the outside of the bend, she is in a good position sitting on the wash of the Chinese paddler.
And both of them, they look very relaxed. So it looks like there is no rush.
Yeah, just perhaps taking their time a little bit, and maybe that's what you need to do, conserve your energy, because they've got 5 small laps to go, haven't they?
Yeah.
Now, what would you be thinking? What's going through your mind at this moment, Christine? If you're in this position in the race, say you're like the Spaniard in second place, what are you thinking?
I would be just hanging on the wash. I would try to save my energy, just like they do in the second group, what we can see now.
Yeah.
They also look pretty much relaxed. I know Ludmila, she is a very experienced marathon paddler, so she's trying to save her energies for the final sprint maybe.
Yeah, so she's not panicking as well. There's still time, isn't there? She might well get in touch with these leaders, though the leaders do look really smooth, don't they? As you said, very, very relaxed. Nice long stroke of the Chinese paddler as she makes her way down towards where we are on the finish tower. We can see her, that red bow of the canoe just in front there, and Corbera just stalking her, neither of them wanting to do too much work, but I guess they'd have to be careful. They don't want the group behind them catching them up either.
Yeah, but it looks like they are coming closer. Now in the second group, Maria took the lead, and she has also a lot of experience on long distance.
Yeah, so she might be well aware that they want to catch the paddler in front. In fact, they perhaps don't want the paddler just behind them to catch them up either. So we're getting around the bend here. I think the Chinese paddler could maybe get a little bit tighter to those boys, but she's doing okay. The right-hander, she comes around the bend. We can see that from the drone shot in first place. So no position changes there. Chinese paddler at the moment, Li, happy to be in front. And it's quite often in this case, as we start the first of 5 short laps, is that the leader actually wants to take a rest and let somebody else take over.
Yeah, it would be easier for them to keep the first position if they would just change wash. I'm not sure if they are aware about the second group.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, isn't it? Of course they want the gold medal for themselves, but they might find in order to be in that position, they need to work together.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and you can just see a few adjustments there. So we've got Maillard in the middle of the next group behind them there. And I think we have the other Chinese athlete, Wan Yin, just behind that second group, just trying to catch up on them. She's still got a bit of clear water to do, but if she could, she would find, if she got on the other side of Maria Maillard, they'd then make a 3, and they could sit on Maillard's wash for a little bit, and even, as you said, with the front two, if they work together, they might even catch the Chinese athlete and the Spaniard in front of them.
Yeah, correct. But it looks like no one really wants to take the lead here. So everyone looks just comfortable with the current position, and maybe they are still trying to save energy for the final sprint. We will see how, when they realize that they should actually work more together, maybe with quick changes.
Yeah, you can see in this the Chinese athlete Wan Yin is actually losing touch a little bit. It's difficult to see from that camera angle, but I think the gap's got a little bit bigger. So Maillard just almost bumps Babak out of the way, but as you said, she's experienced paddler. She's just nicely tucked in on the inside of the bend there, and making their way around those boys just nicely. They'll be coming around to complete the first of their small laps. Interesting to see what Maria Maillard does now. She's got a bit of a gap. Is she going to try and accelerate and catch the front two, or will she just conserve her energy, and will she let Ludmila Babak catch up?
Yeah, these turning points, they can be tricky because if you are not in the front, you can end up squeezed on the boy. And that's how you can lose your position. That's what just happened in the second group. So let's see if Ludmila can still catch up with Maria.
Yeah, sometimes you can get a little bit bumped out, can't you, and end up on the inside of the buoy, or just having to battle, and then you lose energy and lose position. That's perhaps what's happened. These two, though, working well. I was going to say working well together. They're not really working well together, are they? Because Maria Corbera just very, very happy to sit there quietly in second place.
Yeah, she looks happy there and relaxed still. I think they will just keep on paddling like this until the end, and yeah, we will see how they finish, if they can keep this order position.
Yeah, you wonder whether they've got a big enough gap now. The gap from them to Maria Maillard seems to have got bigger, doesn't it? And it's going to be very difficult for Maria Maillard to come back at that. And so perhaps these two in the front are already thinking, right, 4 more small laps to go. We'll sprint it out for the gold medal.
Yeah, I count now. It's actually 30 meters, the difference in between the first and second group. So I believe at this point it's not impossible that Maria Maillard is catching up.
She's certainly working hard, isn't she?
Yeah.
You can see if you look at her there, she's not giving up on this.
I think she's trying, and she can see that the Chinese athlete, she's making a pretty big angle at the turning point, so they are losing a little bit of distance with that.
Yeah, we'll be able to check the distance now. Have they widened that gap? Is it smaller?
Well, the small boys, they are every 10 meters, so I think it's still more or less 30 meters, the difference.
Yeah, we'll see there. So she's working really hard, as we said there, and it looks hard work, doesn't it? When you're on your own, you've got no wash to sit on, and you're sort of sat in no man's land. That must be difficult.
Yeah, but she looks very strong, and she has good strokes. So I'm sure she didn't give up on catching the first group yet.
Good. There's the voice of someone who's very, very determined and has been in this position before, I'm sure, and it's about just sticking it out, continuing to work hard, and just think, look, an opportunity may well come my way. And you can see that here, can't you? There's a little bit of split there. Don't know whether the Chinese athlete picked it up or forced Corbia round the boys there, but there was a bit of, a little bit of a call, a little bit of a shout there as well. Well, I don't think Maria Corbia is very happy about that.
Well, on 5,000, this can be legal still.
Yeah, indeed, and in fact, well, she could always take the lead, couldn't she?
Yeah.
You know, so if she wants to conserve some energy, she may well have to be pushed around a little bit.
Yeah.
So we'll go around the bend. We'll see if Lee manages to get the turns a little bit better. She is right-handed. It should help a little bit. She's leaning her boat over to the right, which will help her make that turn. There we've got Maria Maillard, who's maintaining the length in that stroke and the leg drive. And as you said, Christina, she is a good paddler and working really hard and not afraid of the hard work. Now, unfortunately for her, she does go wide around these bends because of the paddle, you know, the fact that she's left-handed. It'd be interesting to see in future whether they choose to switch. You know, we'll see that in canoe slalom a lot, where the C1 paddlers will switch sides. But of course, very, very difficult to do because you have one leg, particular leg, that you lead with in sprint canoe.
Yeah, and I can also see that there's a slight wind. So it's coming from the opposite direction. So when they do the upper turn, the wind is also pushing them in the other direction, so that doesn't help them either.
Good point, yeah, and that's really difficult. Not so bad for a kayak paddler like yourself with having a rudder, you know, and paddling on both sides, but very, very difficult for the canoe paddlers. So we'll be able to have a look at the boys, won't we, again, and see if we are about 30 metres. It does, to me, it looks about that at the moment, though. Maria Maillard, she's pulling away from the people behind her. Now, I'm not sure she's making anything on the people in front, but it doesn't look any worse.
Yeah, she made actually a good move. She's trying to get outside from the disturbing wash, which is keeping her back.
Ah, right.
So she's trying to go more to the side, not right behind the group. And there on the side she can catch maybe some waves, which would help her.
Yeah, and we can get that. That's quite good from the drone shot, isn't it? You can see just the little ripples of the waves. It's not the strongest wash that she'll get, but just perhaps she'll get a little bit of advantage from it. 10, 20, and it's less than 30 metres now, so there is a chance. There's another 3 laps to go, so she just needs 7 or 8 metres per lap, and she would be there.
So all boats, they can make this lower turning much better at a smaller angle because of the wind. So the wind is pushing them closer to the turning buoys, so they are not losing so much time and distance.
Yeah, absolutely right. Well spotted on that. The wind just pushing the back, the stern of their canoe round, so the bow faces forwards and get tighter around that bend, but it'll be the next bend where they struggle a little bit more.
We can see some change for the 4th and 5th place. So the other Chinese athlete is currently on the 4th place.
Yeah, Wan Yin just going around the bend now in front of the finish tower. She's got herself in 4th place. She doesn't really want to be there, but it's better than being in 5th. And she's just pulling away a little bit from the Ukrainian. So in that shot there, Maria Maillard looks really close. Just a quick look to the side. But actually, I think as it pans out, we'll still see that she's still got a fair bit of work to do. Indeed, she has. She's 20-something metres behind. See if she can just get this bend right at the top. As you said, the difficult bend. There again, the Chinese athlete, look, forcing Maria Corbia out. She's, as you said, that's perfectly legal. She's allowed to do that. And although Corbia may be conserving energy sitting on the wash, she's having to go around and go that little bit further to make that work for her.
Yeah, and I'm sure that right now the Chinese athlete is very well aware that she is doing all the work, and it might hit back on her in the final sprint.
Yeah, it might well do. She's spending a lot of energy, isn't she? She's led right from the start, and Corbia has been very happy to let her do that. Let's see how she gets around this bend now. Yes, looks a little bit wide, but certainly better than it was last time round. Chinese athlete trying to just stroke a little bit wider there with her paddle, so it forces her around. Maria Maillard making a really good turn of it. It might be that the wind has died down just a touch. and she's around about maybe 20 meters behind now, so she is closing on them.
Yeah, she definitely is. And there are still 2.5 laps left. So
yeah, enough time. Now, if these two had worked together, if Corbière had taken her turn at the front, like we see in cycling, they'll flick the elbow and the next person will come through and then all share the work, knowing that that ultimately gives you a better chance. If they'd done that, they would be well away from Maria Maillard, but they're not, and she can sense it, I think, and is trying to close up.
yeah, I think she closed up like 5 meters so far. So right now she has 25 meters what she has to catch up. She's working hard to do that.
Yeah, she is. So at the end of this, I'll have 2 laps to go once they get to the finish here. It's still a big ask for her, but still possible, and she mustn't give up. That's the key to these endurance events, always bearing in mind there might be a chance. There could be a chink in the armour. There could be something that happened that just gives you that opportunity to get back on terms with the other racers.
Yeah, on 5K, there can be anything happening even in the last minute.
So we've got to keep your awareness. Look at that. Now that's less than 2 boys worth, isn't
Yeah.
it, Christina? So she's made a lot. This lap here, she's made a lot of progress. I think there's almost 10 meters, and she can kind of
Yeah.
sense them now. I wonder, they must know that she's there.
Maybe they don't, because then they would work harder if they still can. But it looks like the Chinese athlete is a little bit tired.
Yeah, and if Maria Maillard manages to get a slightly tighter turn here, if she does that on both turns, she could actually catch them up by the end of the next lap. Now this is the difficult section, I suppose. She's quite close, but she's got to get over the wash, over the waves to get, you know, to actually get in that group. How do you go about doing that?
Yeah, so what she did during the last few laps is that she went a little bit outside. So she tried to catch the far wash, the further waves, what can pull her, and that's what she is doing right now. So she's not exactly behind the leading athlete, but she's coming on her left. So what we can see now is that she's working on the good waves, which are helping her to save her energies.
Yeah, she is. We can get that all in one shot, can't we? Which is good. That shot a little bit deceptive, makes us think that she's right on them, but there's still a gap, and it might just be in this lap. If they sense that she's there, then the Chinese and the Spanish paddler might just speed up a little bit, to give themselves a gap. There they go. Chinese forcing Maria Corbière around the outside once again. So
It's 1.5 laps which they have left. So soon they will hear the bell ringing, which is a sign for the last lap.
yeah, I imagine at this point you're desperate to hear that bell and think, come on, we just want 1 lap left. Now there's Anna Palmer. She's giving this a really good go. Is the right-hander, good marathon paddler, and making the best of those long levers as she goes around that turn. It's good to see, and soon we'll catch up with the leaders again as we approach the 20-minute mark in this endurance event. It's amazing, really, given how long a 5K takes, and yet quite often it's the paddlers that are good over 1,000 meters that are good over 5,000.
Yeah, definitely for this distance you need a good endurance, but you must be also fast because things can change quickly, and you have to have the ability to react fast if something is happening, if the group is changing, the leading is changing in the group.
So it's ability to accelerate and suddenly find that speed
Yeah.
from somewhere. Yeah, and these two have been doing exactly the same thing the whole way round in the same rhythm, so they might find it a little bit difficult if they have to change pace. Now that gap actually hasn't got any smaller in it. I wonder whether Maria Maillard, who's just over their left-hand side, just where that graphic is actually on your screen, just struggling maybe a little bit to get over that wash and to actually get on terms with them. When she gets round to this bend here, she'll be on the last lap, so it will be a lot for her to to catch up the two paddlers in front, but that gap does seem to have got a little bit bigger, and she perhaps is beginning to tire, given that she's been doing everything on her own here.
But as I can see it from here now, she gave it another shot. So she speeds up again, Maria. She still didn't give up on catching the first group.
Yeah,
that's great to see.
It is, and she's going wide again, isn't she? Trying to catch those little waves just to bring her up to speed. But around this bend, I would say she hasn't caught anything relative to where she was last time round. Or maybe just a little bit, but if she gets around this bend tightly, she's certainly taking a different entry through. Going to be really close to the buoy, whereas the Chinese paddler's just trying to push Maria Corbière wide, and perhaps by doing that, she's going to get caught out, and Maria Maillard may well get on terms with them through that. Look how wide Lee is round that bend.
Yeah, they didn't find the right angle.
They definitely didn't, yeah.
And then Maria can take an advantage out of this move. And now she's almost on the Chinese athlete's wash, and it's getting really exciting.
It is. You could drive a bus through the gap that the Chinese paddler has left there. Goodness me, she really made an error there, hasn't she?
Yeah, a few more strokes, and she's also with the first group.
Right, so we heard the bell. You're absolutely right, Christina. The bell has gone. Now the paddlers, can't quite see that on screen. Yes, they're back with us again. And Maria Maillard is almost on them. She's not quite on that wash. She's gone wide. And then hopefully if she catches the wash, it'll suck her in towards Lee, the Chinese paddler. And there'll be three. There were two who are going to battle it out for the gold. There may well be three when we get to the next bend, which makes for a great sprint coming down the last 500 metres. And surely, if there's anybody here who's conserved their energy, it's got to be Maria Corbière.
Yeah. I'm very curious about the last half lap.
It's going to be interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. It's good to see that these girls are in a group, because before it happened several times that they just behind each other, going one by one.
Well, we talked about that, didn't we? Before we were on air, we were just saying that in the kayaks, we have these groups forming and splitting and reforming. In the canoes over the last few years, it's often been a procession of one behind the other. So this is great to see two involved with us, and possibly three if Maria Maillard can get round this bend really tightly. Some back markers to contend with as well. That could come in as a factor. They're catching a couple of people up. So what's Lee going to do now? She's going to come off this bend, accelerate, and just not let anybody come past her? Or is she going to just sit there? She's gone super wide again. Goodness me. I wonder if Maria Maillard can get round there tighter than that. Surely she can. Well, that's pretty good, but there's still a little bit of a gap. Again, huge gap there around from the buoy. Maria Maillard, if she began to accelerate now, she'd have a really good chance of getting right on that wash and putting those others under pressure. And these are the key moments. You can see they're just getting towards the 200 metres to go. So only less than a minute now to go. Catching up a back marker who's stayed well out of the way. So we've got the two leaders in this. They've been the same right the way around. Li from China, who's in front at the moment, in pole position you might say, and Maria Corbière in second. It's been like this the whole way around this 5,000 metres. Just the question is, has Corbière got anything to throw at Lee over this last 150 metres?
It looks like she's not trying it yet. It looks like she's satisfied with the silver medal, but let's see how it goes in the last 100 meters.
It does, doesn't it? There's no difference in her stroke, there's no difference in her body language. Maria Maillard's been giving this everything right the way through the 5,000 metres, but she's not going to catch them up. And in fact, the Chinese paddler now has pulled away. And Corbière maybe just did very well to sit on her wash.
Yeah, it looks like she's just satisfied with the silver medal, and congrats to her and also to the Chinese athlete. She did it all alone, all the 5K.
Well done to her, and also Maria Maillard from Chile that can't have been an easy race. She was so close, wasn't she?
Yeah, and she tried it several times. But she also had a lot of races today. So I'm sure all of these athletes, they are just super tired. And all of them, they can be happy and proud of their medals.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's a funny one, isn't it? The end of a very long and intense weekend, and for some paddlers, first World Cup they've competed in for nearly 3 years. You know, they must be exhausted at the end of this.
Yeah, and it was a hot weekend, so even the sun is not helping the athletes.
No, indeed. High 20s it's been all weekend. Maria Corbiera just shaking her head there, perhaps a little bit disappointed, but she did everything she could. She just didn't have the speed in the end. And Maria Maillard, that just shows how tough it is sometimes. You know, you've got to stick in there, you've got to keep working and hope that an opportunity comes your way. Still, she's got a bronze medal, as you've said. She's done well there. And I wonder if she's going to Poznan next weekend. If so, she'll no doubt have another try then.
I think many countries who came here, they go straight away to Poznan. It's very close here, so it's a good practice before the World Championship.
Yeah, that's best preparation, isn't it? We've talked about that with some of the other guests that we've had on, with Rebby Simon, with Bridget Hartley. Those of you who've been with Planet Canoe over the weekend will know that that's what they've been talking about, the preparation for the next event, preparation for World Championships. And for some nations this is selection for the World Championships, for others it's just a chance for them to see where they are relative to the rest of the international field. And yes, indeed, many athletes going on from here. What is it, 6-hour drive, I think?
I think it's 4, maybe it's...
You drive a little bit quicker than I do.
Ah, yeah.
So yeah, 4 or 5 hours drive from here to Poznan. The Malta Regatta course there will be the venue for next weekend's World Cup. Ross Solly is down there. Hopefully he's going to get an interview with a couple of these paddlers on the pontoon. We should see that in just a minute.
Yeah, they all look very tired.
Hello.
Congratulations. A good win for you. How do you feel?
很高兴这次能代表中国出战吧，自己此时内心也是非常激动，和这么强劲的对手在一起拼搏。我身后带着我自己的信仰，背后也有很多支持我的团队，感谢祖国，感谢团队以及教练，自己接下来也会全力以赴。OK。
Congratulations. Well done.
Well, those of us who don't speak Chinese won't know quite what it was that Li Li was saying, but what is great, of course, is that we have a big Chinese audience who will be watching this, and they'll really appreciate that. And a good win from her. Some good results in Tokyo, of course, for the Chinese, and good results this weekend. So it's great to see our sport is a global sport, and we have people from 5 different continents here this weekend.
Yeah, exactly. And I think China won a lot of medals, so it's getting more and more popular also in Asia.
It does, and International Canoe Federation are trying to run events over there as well, like the ICF Super Cups that we have. And the viewing figures from the Olympic Games in Tokyo were good because we had Chinese medalists, so it's good for the sport as a whole to be a real global sport. Just quick recap there, you can see Chinese paddler pushing Corbiera out wide. She didn't like that, but it's perfectly legal. Maria Maillard, there's always a gap between her and the front of the field. But good to see, as you said, Christina, that more than one boat in this with a chance of winning. Well, after this race, we'll see the C1 men 5,000 metre finals. So we've got 10 paddlers. No, I think we've got more than that. In fact, we've got 20 paddlers. So that'll be great when we get a few more boats, a little bit more battling for the turn, and I'm sure we'll see that in the kayaks as well a little bit later on. Have you ever paddled a canoe, Christina?
I tried, but I was not very successful. I just went in circle because I couldn't steer. I missed my rudder from the kayak.
Well, it's so true. You know, some people don't realise, do they? There's no rudder in a canoe. There is in a kayak. Oh, they're taking a swim. Warm waters, about 20 degrees the water in there, so they'll be okay with that. They've obviously enjoyed their racing, or actually perhaps just pleased that it's over.
Yeah.
But you're right, really unstable those canoes, aren't they? Very, very narrow, very difficult to paddle. A real technique to it. Nice to see Anna Palmer, 7th place, British paddler there. But it's Li who's the Chinese winner in 25 minutes. Maria Corbera from Spain was 2nd, and Maria Maillard from Chile in 3rd. So strong showing from China in 1st and 4th place there. And as you said, Christina, China here in force this weekend. I was speaking to one of the Chinese coaches, in fact, and they spent some time in Oxford training, which is a beautiful part of the UK, but has a very, very narrow and small river to train on. But they enjoyed themselves, and they're pleased to be over here in Europe competing.
I think they have several training centers in Europe. As far as I know, they also have one in Serbia. So they have boats and all the facilities in these training centers. So they can get used to European time and weather. Yeah.
Well, it's a good idea, isn't it? Yeah, really good idea. And what are the training facilities like in Serbia?
They are very good. The sport is developing. In the spring, usually we train in Belgrade, where the Under-23 European Championship will take place this year. And during the summer, we have some smaller places with very calm and nice water where we can go on training camps.
So some good training venues, that's good to hear. And for the Under-23s, will you have? Do you have many athletes there with potential to do well, and maybe, hopes for the future?
I believe so. Yeah. Now the focus is very much on the Under-23 team because of the European Championship, and I believe that they will be successful on the European Championship.
That's good. Let's hope so. Just looking back at some of today's finals, the Serbian men's in the K2 and the B final did well to come 2nd there, and the K2 500 was just so competitive this weekend, wasn't it, in both men and women?
Oh yeah, the men K2, it was in the B final, they were strong. But this year, the K2 event, it got really strong. So that was the strongest event for a long time in K2 500 men. So now everyone is trying new crews for this new distance. And I'm sure it will still change a lot until the World Championship.
Yeah, so it's important that we don't read too much into the results of the first World Cup of the season in a developing event like that, because it's going to be Olympic. It wasn't. It's now going to be in Paris. And so, it will be a rapidly developing event. I remember when the 200 metres came in for 2012, and we had some of the British men particularly that were at the forefront of that. They knew they had to constantly be improving because they knew that is what would happen to the event every year.
And they did well.
They did, didn't they? Yeah, they certainly did. Yeah, they did that very well. And it was, of course, Alex Nikonarov who supported them with that as a coach, who's been more recently working in Japan and before that in China. And we had the likes of Johnny Schofield, Liam Heath and Ed McKeever really driving things forward in the 200 metres. And in a way, it's kind of the end of an era a little bit as well, because, of course, the K1 200 has come out of the Olympic programme. And the only 200-metre event left now, in fact, is the women's C1.
Oh yeah, they still have it. And I think all the guys who were specialized for 200, they try to change their training program for 500, which is sometimes not easy, but it's possible. It's definitely possible. And 500 is a distance which can be done both from 1,000 paddlers and by 200 paddlers. So I think it's a good motivation for everyone.
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it, to see some 200-metre paddlers, the big, strong, powerful paddlers, try to sort of extend what they do into a 500-metre crew boat, and the 1,000-metre endurance athletes just trying to become a little bit more powerful so that they can get into the crew boats for the 500 metres. And maybe the perfect answer is a little bit of a blend of both in the K4.
Yeah.
Now then, so we've got 5 minutes to go until the next 5 1,000-meter race, 5 kilometers. We've got C1 men. We've got 20 people in this. We should have 20 people in this. Just looking through, we had the Italians have done well today, actually. Gabriele Casade and Carlo Tacchini. The Italians, I would imagine they'd be pretty strong in this. But we've got Sergei Madrigal, a Cuban, as well as very, very experienced Nicolas Fodor, Hungarian. And could make for an interesting race. Jose Cordova as well, the Cuban. Cubans are so good in the canoes. And Zheng Pengfei, of course, from China.
Yeah, I think I remember from last year the Cuban athletes were very strong at this distance. So I expect them to be fast also today. And soon they are heading for the start line.
Yeah, they are. They get this sort of swarming like bees before the start line, over to the pontoon at the start, where we can see various of our young helpers lying on the pontoon, ready to hold on to the stern of their kayaks. No boot to put the front of your boat into this time round. Just got to be grabbed by someone while you wait for the start.
Yeah, sometimes they just have this start block also for 5,000. But here in Racice, there are these kids holding the boat. And when the start sign is on, they just let them go.
It's a good idea, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whereas this is a little bit tricky. Sometimes paddlers don't particularly like someone holding on to the back of their boat.
Yeah.
It's got to be done, so it's going to take them a little while to line up. Just looking through the names. Of course, Jose Cordova, as we said, very experienced. And we expect the Italians to go well as well. Sergei Madrigal, he was part of the C2 at the World Championships last year. Him and Fernando Enriquez, they were third in 1,000 meters, so they've definitely got some form there. Zheng Pengfei, second in Tokyo over 1,000 meters in the C2.
I think we can expect him a strong performance.
Really strong, yeah. No Sebastian Brendel. We got used to seeing him in this event, didn't we? Absolute man mountain in this 5,000 meter race.
Yeah, I think now he was focused on C2 500, which is also a new event.
It is, and it did very well. He's doing well. He made the final in that, and then of course did very well in his preferred C2 1,000 meter event.
Yeah.
No Brazilians. Would have been nice to see Ezequias dos Santos in this one, but not this time round. He's been pretty busy. He's been pretty busy racing all weekend.
And I think several athletes, they just prefer to rest for the next weekend's second World Cup. Maybe there will be a bigger lineup in the end of Poznan World Cup, and they don't need to rest anymore.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's only a week away, isn't it? Well, less than that to the start of the event. And on a hot weekend, if you've already raced in a crew boat and individually over 200 or 500 or 1,000, you know, you're going to be pretty tired. So what would be the standard week if you were competing in Poznan, you competed here, Christina? What would the week look like for training?
Then I think tomorrow, all the athletes who were competing today, tomorrow is a day off. And then on Tuesday they start again a little bit harder training. Maybe even Wednesday a little bit of training, and Thursday is resting. That would my week look like if I would be racing. But I think it's individual for all the athletes. Whatever the coach say, they just need to follow. And maybe athletes shouldn't think too much.
Yeah, so follow the coach. But I suppose also as you mature as an athlete, you go from doing exactly what the coach tells you to having that relationship with the coach, so you can talk and you can feed back to the coach as well, and you can hopefully both move everything forward.
Yeah, I think in ideal case that's the perfect cooperation, when the coach is receiving a feedback from the athlete and is adapting the training plan based on the needs of the athlete.
Yeah, that takes time to develop though, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
And maturity from the athlete as well. But we see a lot of experienced paddlers doing well still here. The likes of Fernando Pimenta, you know, Lisa Carrington seems like she's been around forever now, and Sebastian Brendel that we were talking about. All experienced athletes, and I imagine have a very good relationship with their coach. So we've got 5 minutes to the start. So we'll have Mateus Jimenez from Chile in this, Jose Cordova from Cuba, Matej Rusnak from Slovakia, Zheng Peng Fei, Olympic silver medalist from China, Mateusz Bogil from Poland, Jakub Bredzina from Czech Republic, Viktor Svirdiuk from Ukraine, Ian Ross from the United States, Nicholas Fodor, the Hungarian, Sergei Madrigal, experienced Cuban, Carlo Tacchini from Italy, Lee Kangmin from Korea, Adrian Kloss from Poland, Andriy Zakharov from Ukraine, Yuri Minarik from Czech Republic, Kim Yeol from Korea, Li Zehui from China, Gabriel Casade from Italy, Vicente Diaz from Chile, and Juan Valencia from Colombia. So South America quite well represented in this. So we've got a spread of continents. We've got America, South America, North America. We've got Asia, and we've got Europe.
Yeah, we have everything here, which is really good for the sport.
We just need an Australian or a New Zealander, don't we? But maybe that'll come in the next, you know.
I think they don't really have canoers in Australia and New Zealand.
A lot of kayak, probably because a lot of it's based on surf lifesaving, which is you know, in a kayak, isn't it? And a lot of the athletes come from surf lifesaving. Something for the Australians to develop. Just an idea if any Australian coaches are listening.
Without pressure.
Yeah. Right, number 19. There we can see. Look at that now. Expect something from Vicente Diaz from Chile, maybe. He's seen Maria Maillard pick up that bronze medal. They'll know how important the start is, because if Maria Maillard had been on that wash at the start, she might have been there at the finish to go 1 or 2 better than a bronze medal. So the start will be important. And basically there's too many people in this to get round cleanly round the first bend. So there's going to be some fighting to get in those first few positions. Not literally, but a bit of battling to try and get in a good position.
Yeah, for sure. The more people are at the start line, the more difficult it is at the first turning point. So with 20 canoes, it will be quite interesting to see.
It's one way of putting it. Right, so paddlers just preparing themselves. There will be a bit of a melee at the start. Might not be able to give you exactly who's who, but we'll do our best as long as the numbers stay on the back of their boat, which isn't always guaranteed. So we've got one paddler just reversing in. Can't see that from your camera angle. I can see that from the finish tower though. Just one paddler backing. There he is, near the middle of the screen, backing in there. Not a lot of room between them. We've got the thumbs up. We're ready to go. It's a really impressive sight, this as well, from a distance. You can see all those paddlers. We'll see them all kind of converge around 2 or 3 people. Some may take the far right-hand side as we see it. Some may take the far left, and a few may well take the middle. But no doubt groups will form around 1 or 2 strong paddlers. As you can see that, a group forming on the right-hand side there. A group in the middle, and probably 2 groups on the left-hand side. So Cuban Jose Cordova in picture there. He's right over the far side. He's got to get across. There's a bit of a group forming around him.
We could already see some little crash.
Yeah, number 12's missed out already. He's going to struggle to get back from that. Lee Kang-min from Korea, isn't he? But we have a strong lead. I'm not quite sure who that is, but he's a long way ahead of the rest of the field. He's got clear water, in fact, on the rest. And you can just see, have a look at those boats there. They're trying to form a group around the left-hand side of your screen as we stay with the drone there. And I think it might be the Czech paddler that was in the lead. We've got the Ukrainian as well. Now that's Viktor Shridyuk going well in that distinctive Ukrainian yellow vest. Now the Cuban paddler that we saw earlier on, Cordova, coming across from our right to left in the red boat. He can sense that the lead is right over there on the far side of the course, and he wants to be on that wash.
And also he has to go that direction to get to the right turning point. So the turning is from the left side. No, from the right
From the right
side
to the left, isn't it?
Yes.
If you're the paddler, yeah, you're right. And
Is
just
that
look at
right?
him coming across.
Yeah.
He almost takes 2 or 3 people out there, but he can't steer it back. He's going into the.
yeah.
Oh my word! What an absolute disaster from what seemed a great position. So difficult to steer these canoes, isn't it? And he's
Yeah.
lost out there, and I don't think we'll see him come back from that. It's the Czech paddler that was leading. That number 15, going really, really well there. Yuri Minarik was definitely by far the quickest down there, and the group wants to form around him. And it is Carlo Tacchini, the Italian, who's there, and also Sergei Madrigal, using every little bit of experience just to be in the right place at the right time.
And we can see that these guys are really close to the turning buoys. They are not leaving space here, and they are not giving each other a chance to catch up.
No, a little bit of a contrast from what we saw with some of the women paddlers in the previous race. Just one of the, I think that's the Ukrainian just struggling a little bit to go around. He wants to keep his bow close to those buoys. Lovely to see all those canoes converge around that bend, all wanting the tightest turn round it. We've got a little bit of clear water between the Czech paddler and the next two, which is the Cuban Madrigal and Tacchini, the Italian. Long way to go yet, but the Czech paddler, Czechs have had quite a fair bit of success here, particularly with Martin Fuchser, of course, in the C1000 and C1500 event, but going well here in this event too. You can just see there, if you look at the Ukrainian is actually really struggling, isn't he? He's struggled
Yeah.
around the bend, he's struggling here. Obviously he's a fit paddler, but battling with those washes, the wave that comes off your boat is quite a skill.
Yeah, it's not easy to keep the direction, especially when there are so many boats on the water at the same time. So for some of the athletes, it's really hard to steer and to stay on the wash.
And yeah, with some paddlers you see sort of work their way through the washes, won't you? You'll see them in 7th or 8th place and just bide their time, and when an opportunity comes, they get onto the next wash and then they work their way up, and it's a real it's amazing to see them do that and conserve energy but just come through the field gradually if they've got the skills.
Yeah. I think several people, they have a very good sense for catching this wash. And some of them, they just don't practice because they train for sprint and only for flat water, so they don't have so much experience where to go, where not to go. So I think it's all about the experience, what you can gain during your races.
That's right, yeah. You know, a lot of these paddlers will be practicing paddling in the straight line. They don't want to turn. In fact, they know that turning uses energy. And when you're in sprint, you want to be going in a perfectly straight line if possible. Then all your energy is into going forwards. But this is very, very different. You've got to be able to maneuver that boat, get yourself in the right place, settle onto a wash, take your opportunity when it comes, and as you said earlier, accelerate when you need to. And a lot of these paddlers who are good at the endurance event actually have excellent acceleration. So we've got 3 there, and it's just a 4th paddler, which is the Cuban, Cordova. He's not far away there, and if he just sticks to it, perhaps on the inside of the bends there, he may find himself in a wash. The perfect wash would be directly behind the Czech paddler, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think he's gonna catch up pretty soon. He has a lot of experience on 5,000 meter, and I can see he really knows what he wants and where he wants to go. He's already sitting on the wash of the 3rd athlete in the first group. And actually the first group is reforming now, so Italian athlete Carlo Tacchini took the lead.
Yeah, interesting. This is what we didn't. Oh dear. He's really gone for it, hasn't he? But interesting that this is what we didn't see in the women, that the groups splitting up and reforming. But it has happened this time round. So we've got Tacchini in the front, and then we've got the Cuban Madrigal behind that. I'm quite sure what's happened to the Czech paddler, who's a bit of an expert over this distance. He's an endurance paddler, but just dropped back now. So we've got two Cubans in this now. We've got Cordova a little bit further behind. Experienced Madrigal is now up, sitting on the wash of the Italian Tacchini. We're in the first small lap, so we'll have 4 more to go after this one. But clear water between these two groups now.
I think this was the case when they actually realized in the first group that the second group is catching up. So they had a good reaction. They were fighting back, and now the difference between the two groups is actually growing.
Indeed it is. Yeah, just seem to have settled a bit now as well, don't they? Quick look round there at each other for the two leaders. Now they've got to keep working together. If they take turns here, they can pull away from the second group. The Czech paddler, who was a medalist at the 2018 Youth Summer Olympics, he's got a little bit of work to do now. I wonder if there'll be a little bit of pushing people into boys. Well, he was quite generous there, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So Tacchini just allowing a bit of space for Madrigal to go through there, and they will come round soon and complete the first of their 5 small laps. They've got about 100 meters to go now till they get to the bend. They can see them going around the top bend there. Bit of a procession, the boat spreading out a little bit further. Just a small group forming there a little bit further down the field. That is Ian Ross from the United States, along with Juan Valencia from Colombia.
It's great to see Colombia here. They are not coming to each event.
No, we don't see them very often, do we?
Yeah.
And it's really, really good to see. We've got 49 nations here, in fact, this World Cup, which is a really good turnout.
Yeah.
So, are they tight round the bend? They look to be pretty good round there. Right-handed Tacchini, that will suit him round this bend, leaning the boat over, just trying to maintain that rhythm, maintain his pace. And we've got trying to jump between the groups now is the Colombian Cordova, just behind. You can see him in shot. Well, he will be able to in a minute. And just having a look at Tacchini. He's perhaps caught a little bit. He doesn't know what he wants to do. Does he want to keep going in the front, using up all his energy, but allowing the other Cuban to catch up? Or does he want Madrigal to do some work and take his turn?
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to decide during the race because you don't know how much reserve the other person has. So you don't know if you just need to pull a little bit more and then the other person is also losing all what he has, or you should just take some rest and sit on the wash.
Difficult one to know, isn't it? I suppose you get to know some of the other paddlers if you race them on the circuit, but it must be hard to tell. So as we go around, little procession round the bend there. Back at the front of the race, Tacchini still in the lead. Just having a look, checking for the next bend.
Yeah, he's making sure that the difference stayed or it got smaller. But as far as I can see, now the distance between the two groups, it's pretty much stable.
Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on that again. Those buoys are useful, aren't they, to see how many meters they are behind. There's still a big gap there, isn't there?
Yeah.
And Cordova perhaps maybe has accepted that he's not going to catch these two. We'll see. Going around for the second of 5 small laps. Tacchini very aware, looking round, checking where other people are, but just a little bit wide round that bend there, but keeping it smooth nonetheless. Looks good, looks focused, looks relaxed, boat running pretty smoothly.
We don't see the difference right now, but from this picture I have the feeling that they are a little bit more relaxed than at the beginning. They are confident with their advantage, what they have.
Yeah, and you can see the advantage there, can't you? We can't see in that shot, we can't see Cordova catching them. There he is. So, well, it's more than 20 metres, so it's possible. It's about where Maria Maillard was with sort of 2 laps to go, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
So Tacchini, he's keeping well away, knows what's going on. Can't see it on a big screen like you would do in athletics when you come round each lap, but he'll have a good idea. The turn allowing him to have a look round. Well, he knows where Sergei Madrigal is, no doubt about that.
I'm actually not sure if the 2 Cuban athletes, they are working together like this, so that the second athlete is not taking the lead. He doesn't want to make the speed higher, so that his teammate has
Catches
the chance
up.
to catch up.
Well, that's interesting, yeah. Have you ever done that in the Serbian team?
Usually it was only me who was racing 5K, so I never had a teammate. But last year at the Super Cup, we were 2 of us with my teammate Milica Starovic, and we actually helped each other on the 1,000-meter race.
Did you enjoy the Super Cup?
Yeah, it was great.
Well, we're going back, aren't we, to Oklahoma once
Yeah.
again?
Yeah.
So it should be good. It's really, they put on a really good event, don't they?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, everything was perfect.
that's good to hear. Well, hopefully you'll be going back.
Oh yeah.
No date as yet secured for that, but very much hoping there. I know they're very excited, the organisers there, about putting on the event. We're hoping that it'll be later on in the summer, and we look forward to that going ahead, and do very much hope that you'll be there, Christina.
Yeah, thank you.
Right, so there's the Cuban athlete with a sort of bit of a frown on his face, thinking, right, what am I going to do? Is my teammate allowing me to catch up? Hopefully. Have I got the energy to catch up? And if I do, will I be able to outsprint either of these two? So camera just panning out. We'll see, there they are. There they are. Difficult to see what the gap is at the moment. I think it's still reasonably big.
Yeah, but it looks like in this first group, the Cuban athlete lets the Italian athlete do all the hard work.
Yeah, he is, isn't he? And you can see the stroke rate's a little bit lower. I mean, the Italian Tacchini doesn't look like he's trying too hard, but he's certainly working harder than Madrigal. Round the bend once more they go.
They feel safe, definitely, for
Yeah.
the first 2 spots.
It'll be interesting, won't it? Like we saw in the previous race, that the Spanish paddler, though she hadn't done any of the work round, was happy to and satisfied to settle for the silver, and maybe, you know, she was pushing herself hard enough just to stay on that wash.
Yeah. I expect here more fight in the end.
Yeah, let's see. Once they get off the final bend, they may well fight it out over the last 500 meters.
Now there might be some attacks or attempt for
Yeah,
an attack.
looks like now, oh, a little bit of, yeah, just forcing it wide a little bit there, says Tacchini. And Madrigal says, thank you very much. I'll just join back exactly where I was before. Great shot, you can see there. Right the way around the paddlers. Just got a quick glimpse of Cordova behind them, not really making any inroads. You see some of the paddlers there. Number 5, that's Borgil from Poland in the white cap. And the Ukrainian paddler who struggled with his controlling his boat in those waves in that wash a little bit earlier on. Viktor Shridyuk. And the other Czech paddler that's in the field as well, we can see
Yeah,
there.
he is the other Czech paddler.
Jakub Bredzina.
He's a very experienced paddler on marathon as well.
Right, and we'll see, won't we? Quite a few marathon paddlers take part in this
Yep.
in this event. It's a good place where marathon and sprint can meet, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Of course, used to be part of the World Championship program. Certainly the 10,000 meters did a long time ago. I think 1991 perhaps was the last time it was in the World Championship program.
Yeah.
You won't remember that
No.
that long ago.
I was not racing it, but yeah, it's always some different challenge.
Yeah, it is indeed. A lot of tactics going on.
Yeah.
Now, so I think we've got 2 more laps. So I think it'll be the bell at the next lap. The gap isn't very big to Cordova, Jose Cordova. You can see there behind, it's less than, I think it's less than 20 meters.
Yeah.
So he does have a chance. Right directly behind them this time, as you explained, Christina, before with the women. She was coming wide, trying to sit on the wash a little bit. Cordova at the moment just directly behind, right behind. If you could draw a line from the back of those, he'd be right on that line.
Yeah, he's using a different tactics. He's trying to catch up right behind the first group.
Different sort of wash right directly behind, isn't there, to the one that's at the side?
Yeah. Because these small laps, they are actually too short to go always on the side and then come back for the turn. So yeah, maybe for him, this is the easier way to try.
Yeah, this is what's working for him. Yeah, we'll have the top turn again now, and they'll know they'll be coming down towards the bell. So just perhaps a little bit of a sense of urgency in their minds, knowing it's not going to be far now. There is a chance for Cordova to catch up.
Yeah, Carlo Tacchini is always looking and making sure that the difference stayed.
He is, isn't he? Keeps looking around every time he does that turn.
I know that feeling.
What, somebody looking round at you or you looking round at someone else?
Yeah, I also need to look around all the time just to give a feedback for myself.
Yeah, it's. I remember Ivan Lawler when he was paddling these races in marathon. He seemed to have a head like an owl that can almost, turn right the way around. He still carries his technique, but his head will be looking around to check where all the other paddlers are. Real technique and real skill to be able to do that. To keep aware of what's going on around you, but also be able to focus on your own job.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like nothing changed in the first group.
No, he's having a try, isn't he? He's still having a try. He's come wide this time. He's trying everything he can, Cordova, to get on terms.
Yeah, now he's trying to go out on the side. He's trying to attack from there.
He'll have to move. Oh, we've got a movement there. We saw the real stroke rate pick up there. Maybe his teammate noticed that. Bit of a sprint. It was almost as if they thought that was the last lap. There was a real sprint going on there. And it was instigated, surprisingly, by Madrigal. I don't know whether perhaps he didn't want his teammate to catch up. So he sprinted. Tacchini was having none of it, saying, no, thank you very much. I'm in the lead. I'm going to stay there. And now they've got a bigger gap to Cordova.
Yeah, I think at this point it's already dangerous to change the lead. It's dangerous for Tacchini because there might be a risk that he cannot take back the lead again if he lets the Cuban athlete going in the front.
Okay, so that's because we're getting quite near the race and they've had the bell, and so he thinks, right, okay, from now on, I want to be in the lead. I want to be watching every move and I want to be covering it.
Yeah. And it's always a little bit hard to break through the wash, to break through the waves in the final sprint. So if you are sitting on the waves, then you must work much harder.
It's hard, that as well. Do you find that you get used to that rhythm and you're used to feeling on the wash, so actually to accelerate away from that must be very difficult?
Yeah, it is.
So Madrigal, he has been conserving energy, but he's been doing the same thing all the way around. For him to now burst ahead with a sprint and get off the wash, it's almost like paddling uphill for a little bit. he can get himself into clear water. It's going to be a challenge, and of course remember he's on the outside of the bend as well. A little bit more work to do going around this last bend than Tacchini, who's in kind of pole position. He knows when the moves are coming, he'll be able to sense it, and he's got the inside.
Exactly, but when we saw his attempt, the attempt of the Cuban athlete before, that was pretty strong. It looked very explosive. So I believe Carlo Tacchini has to work hard to keep his leading position.
Yes, and I don't think Cordova's going to play a part in this battle for the gold medals. Just between these two. Again, Tacchini has a quick look round. Yeah, I wonder if he's going to try and force Madrigal wide. Might just do a little bit, and now we've got to wait for the sprint. Now, is Madrigal going to go now? Is he going to wait till in a straight line? Is he going to bide his time and just try and accelerate? Here he comes wide, tries to come off the wash. They're almost level with each other, and then we're about to see a sprint over the last 200 meters for the finish line. And this one, there's a gradual sprint before, as you spotted, Christina. He really picked it up straight away, but they're just winding it up gradually now, aren't they? There's less than 200 meters to go, so just over 30 seconds from here on in, and it's a real battle between them. Now, Madrigal got on terms, almost got his nose in front, but Tacchini said, I'm having none of that, I'm going to go again. And therefore, look at those bows running almost neck and neck, but it seems that Tacchini found something else, gone up another gear perhaps now. He's determined, he's thinking, I've led this the whole way around, I'm not giving this up for anyone. And really, Madrigal's got to try again, but if you look at Madrigal's body language, he looks as if he's almost accepted now that he's not going to get off that wash and past Tacchini, and it is Tacchini, it is the Italian who's going to take the gold medal. Well done to him.
It was a great race, a great finish.
It was, yes, and well done. You know, Tacchini, like we saw in the race before, he put all the effort in, and Madrigal certainly asked questions of him, but Tacchini was able to respond every time.
Yeah, and he was brave, because he did most of the work, and he believed until the end, so he has a well-deserved gold medal.
Yeah, he does, and you know, often they say fortune favours the brave, so if you put yourself out there and you are brave, you're rewarded for it, and this time he was. Italy, I think they have a silver and bronze medal from this regatta, but now they've got a gold.
Good job.
And a good race, wasn't
Yeah,
it? Exciting to see. Good start, you know, some changes in position, some different groups forming. Nice to see that it wasn't just a procession, one in front of the next. And even the third place did have a chance for a while, but the first two were too good for Cordova, Jose Cordova in picture there, and he will have to settle for the bronze medal.
Yeah, and he lost a lot of time when he tried to go from the left side to the right side at the beginning.
He did. It's interesting that, because it's obviously an advantage if you start on the paddler's right, near the finish tower off the start. How do they decide who the positions they start in on the pontoon? Is that random?
I think it's random, yeah. But as far as I know, lane 1 on this long distance is always on the opposite side of the finish tower. So in this case, I think the bigger numbers have a better advantage.
Advantage, yeah, closer to the tower, a shorter distance to go, and it was,
Yeah.
in fact, you're absolutely right. It was Jose Cordova who got away to a good start, but he had to come right the way across, didn't he, to get with that group, and that's perhaps what cost him the position in that lead group. It was the Czech paddler that we mentioned, the young Czech paddler that started really, really well, but then he faded a little bit after a great start. Minarik, that was Jiří Minarik. And then it was Tacchini against Madrigal, Italy against Cuba, and Italy, Tacchini held on to the lead, and here he is now with Ross.
Carlo, that's a tough race. You fought hard all the way. You must feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, you said right. It was a really tough race. Really, after a really bad weekend for me, it was exactly what I needed. So I'm really, really happy. Nice fight with the Cubans. They're really always really good on the 5K, so I'm really happy about it.
And nice to beat an Olympic gold medalist on the final lap too, yeah?
Yeah. Nice for me to be in front. Yeah, but yeah, next week, new battle, new fun. Hope new medal.
Carlo, I know how disappointed you were missing out on the Olympics last year. How do you feel about this Olympic cycle? How are you feeling about the path ahead for you?
Well, he started really bad because I didn't make the final, but we made the final in C2 with Gabriele, a very talented young guy. So I'm happy and positive for that race. I'm very disappointed about the C1, but the path is long and hope we can better.
Yeah, a win like this, it's good for your confidence. Yeah, you haven't won at an international level for a little while, so this would be good for your confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. It was necessary because after this morning I was really down, so I needed something to cheer me up, and the gold is what's better than the gold.
We could see how determined you were. There was no way you were going to let the Cuban past you.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I was ready to cut my arm off and throw it at him if it was necessary, but absolutely not.
I'm glad you didn't have to do that. Well done, Carlo. Congratulations.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Well, that would have been awful, wouldn't it? Glad we didn't see that. But Carlo Tacchini, he was in the B final of the C1000 metres this morning. Obviously disappointed not to be in the A final, and he was beaten by his teammate this morning. It's interesting, obviously, being beaten by his teammate. He was disappointed with that, so he was determined not to let somebody past him in this race, and that was perhaps the difference.
Maybe he had to go through that to win this gold medal.
That's a really good point, isn't it? It's often, as athletes, it's the times when they're disappointed, times when they've been beaten, that they learn the most from. And maybe that's the thing that separates the great athletes from the good ones. They learn every time, they learn from a win and they learn from a loss in order to make them better.
Yeah, and he definitely succeeded this weekend.
He certainly did, yeah. He's really delighted with that, which is good to see. Great racing, and we've got some more great racing ahead of us. In fact, we're staying with the same course, so that one big lap and the 5 small laps. We should actually next have a medal ceremony for the C1 women, but we'll see if they've managed to organise that in time. That's at, well, it should be about now actually. And then after that we've got the kayak women and men. So K1 women 5,000 and K1 men 5,000 to finish up what has been a fantastic weekend here in Racice. There you go, Carlo Tacchini, 22 minutes 58. Sergei Madrigal and Jose Cordova, 2nd and 3rd for the Cubans. And Zakharov, the Ukrainian, not managing to add to the Ukrainians' impressive tally of medals, 3 gold, 2 silver and 1 bronze at the moment. He misses out and takes 4th place. So we'll see if we're going to have a medal ceremony. But certainly, just looking around from the finish tower here, we can see the women's K1 getting ready. Christine, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but shame that you're not racing in this one today. And let's hope that you will be in the future.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's good to see you racing over this distance. It should be an exciting race. We've got a lot of people certainly on the start list. We've 25 starters, even more than we had in the men's C1. Start's going to be really important. Over on the left-hand side of your screen, that's probably where the paddlers want to be, on that big, long, white pontoon. They'd rather be there than the far right. Now, if they're on the far right-hand side, what's the tactic, Christine? Are you just going to go for it as far as you can and then come over, or are you going to try and get across early on to join those that are on our left side of our screen?
Well, if I'm on the far side, I usually just try to have a good start and go straight. Because if you try to go on the other side pretty early, then you have a risk of someone knocking you out, someone hitting the end of your boat, and then you can collide and have some crashes, which doesn't help you and the other boats either. So I prefer to have clear racing. So right after the start, if I'm on the far side, I would just try to push it until 200 or 300 meters, and then I would do a slight turn to the other side.
Yeah, so you stay clear and then see where you are, try and get a good start, try and get away, and then move over from there, because as you say, you could end up clattering or being clattered into if you try and move across too early. Well, interesting. We've got about 6 or 7 minutes to start. We'll just take a very short break, and then we'll be back with everyone in a couple of minutes for the start of the women's kayak 5,000 meters.
Je to přesně jak říká Švédsko, máme zhruba 3 minutky do startu, dáme se nám už tady rozjíždějí před startovním volem, to znamená jezdíme z místa, dvojkaři drží, závodnice vzadu, za zadek loni a my si pojďme tady představit, protože podle mě je nejvyšší čas, pojďme si představit závodnice, které se účastní dnešního 5kilometrového závodu. Jsou to základy o K1 Women 5,000 meters. Lane number 1, there is Italy, Irene Burgo. Number 3, there is China, Liming Hu. Number 5, there is Spain, Miriam Vega. Number 7, there is Slovakia, Katarina Peščuková. With number 9, Hermine Peters.
So, next race is the penultimate race of the World Cup weekend here in Racice in the Czech Republic, and it will be the 5,000 meter race for the K1 women. We've got 25 women lined up for this, so we're really looking forward to seeing that. It's going to be a real battle royale for the to get to the first turn. Paddlers just backing up onto the pontoon. They'll be underway in the next few minutes' time. I'm delighted to say we've got Kristina Bedek with us, who for Serbia has competed many times in this event, Kristina, as well as the K1 1,000 meters. So you're enjoying watching the racing here. And we saw some good C1 races earlier, and I imagine we'll see some groups forming in the women's kayak as well. And there is some real experts in there, some names we know, Hermine Peters being one from Belgium there, that have some good form in these distance races. And of course Bridget Hartley, who was up joining me for commentary earlier on today. Delighted to be here, given that she had some visa problems to get here and only just managed to get here late last night. So there's a number of names here who'll be vying for the positions, and with 25 kayaks in this, it's going to be quite a bit of battling going on to get to that first turn.
Yeah, 25 is a very impressive number. I'm happy to see that more and more kayak women are interested in this event. And let's see how it goes for them. I'm sure it will be exciting race.
I'm sure it will. Yeah, even the helpers there holding on the back of the boats are smiling, enjoying themselves in the sunshine. Number 22 there you can see, and Sletjoe, Norwegian, couple of Norwegians in this. Hedda Orisland as well. So, we're up with the drone. We've got a couple of places not taken actually over on the left-hand side of the screen. That's where the paddlers want to be, because they're going to have to turn anti-clockwise. They're underway. Australian there getting way to a really strong start. She loves this. Georgia, I should say, Sinclair, just in her early 20s. And you can see groups forming right in the middle of your screen there. A group over the far right-hand side, that's the red boat. This is what happens. Look at that, it's a great picture, isn't it? All those different coloured boats battling it for position to try and get across. But they need to get over towards the bottom of the screen, because that is where the entry point to the first turn is. Number 6 going well at the moment. Susanna Cicali from Italy.
Yeah, there are many experienced paddlers here, so they all know that if they are stuck at the start, it's really hard to maneuver back to the first group.
Yeah, Jenny Egan's in there as well. Jenny's been a medalist many times in this event. She's very clever and canny as well. You can see there right towards the back on the right-hand side. We just saw it there. Number 2, that's Lui Yim Ying from China. She's leading that group on the far side, but at some point, they're going to have to move across. Number 17, Yang Luan as well, leading for China. And China's impressive down this first straight, but will they have the tactical nous? See Bridget Hartley in the back there, just battling it with the Australian, the South African. Good position there as the Czech paddler.
Yeah, Bridget is a very experienced paddler. She really knows how to sit on the wash and how to maneuver herself.
Yeah, quite often you will see that these paddlers that are so experienced just seem to get themselves on a good wash, but it's not by accident. That's experience and tactics. Number 2, Lazcano, the Spanish paddler, and the Spaniards really do love their distance racing as well. They're sort of coming together. This will be interesting. She's actually leading at the minute, so in many ways she's got the advantage. Up to the Chinese paddler, number 17 now, to try and join in. This could be disastrous.
Yeah, now the 2 groups, they merged, with the Spanish athlete leading the whole group.
Yeah, there's an athlete there. She was in a good position. She's all over the place now in about 10th position. So she really struggled, but we've got a good group here at the front. Numbers 2, 5 and 6. Lazcano, we've got Vega, the Spaniards, so 2 Spanish in this, that could be significant, and the Italian Cicali. Number 7, number 17 is the Chinese paddler. Number 7, she's just got to settle in there. Peskova, who is the Slovakian paddler, not far away now.
It's actually surprising that they are all of them with small start numbers, which means that they were on the far side and they are still in the first group.
That's a really good point, that. Well
they
spotted.
had a good start.
And it may be that because there was a group of them as well, they've managed to form a small group and that was strong enough to then come across. And when they did come across, they're actually in the lead. And therefore they had the advantage and everything had to bunch up around them. This is how the wash works. You can see that great shot as the drone makes its way up towards the front there. The wash is coming off the side. If you can get on one of those washes close to the front at the side of the boat, side of number 2 there, you're in a good place.
And the first group is now becoming 4 athletes, out of 4 athletes. The Chinese athlete is on the second wash, but if she wants to rest more, she goes right behind the first athlete, so that's called the back of the diamond.
Yeah, she makes that diamond shape. In fact, it would be a very sensible thing if she could do that. It's a really good wash in there, and also, given the fact she's on the outside of the bend, if she stays in that position, it's going to be hard work for her, isn't it?
Yeah. At the same time, in the end of the diamond, that's also risky to stay, because there you don't have any space to move. So if there is a new situation coming, then you have a
nowhere to go.
Yeah, nowhere to go.
Yeah, I see what you mean. You've got very short space, literally very difficult. You've got to be good with your wash hanging, good with the use of the rudder, and if something happens, you're in a very difficult position to maneuver quickly. Good point. So maybe she's just happy to stay on the outside. See what happens here. How generous Lazcano is at the bend there. Reasonably generous. Just allowing that other paddler on her inside. Doesn't have to do that, of course.
Yeah, I think usually the unwritten rule is that paddlers, they allow one person on the inside of the buoy. But if there is someone on the second wash, that has to stay behind that person.
Yeah, Serbian paddler going through there as well.
Yeah, she is at a good position. She didn't race this distance many times, but she's fast, she's explosive, and she also has a good endurance, so I'm sure she's gonna hang there.
It's Maria Dostanic, so good for her, well done, and hopefully she can sort of work her way through some of those washes there. Number 5, that is Miriam Vega from Spain. So good that we've got 2 Spanish athletes in this. We talked about this in the men's C1, didn't we? That can help if they work as a team.
Yeah, it can definitely help. At the same time, it's also hard to help each other, because sometimes you just don't have the opportunity to work together. If you try to work together with your teammate, sometimes you give an advantage also to other athletes. So it's really hard to make the perfect strategy.
Yeah, difficult. I guess the perfect strategy is to be able to adapt as well, because you can't always control everything that's happening around you.
Yeah. But they are definitely nice to each other at the turning points. So
yeah,
they leave space to each other.
And this group, so we've got a group there of 4, and then not far behind them is the further 2. Now, whether or not these 2 can sort of reform the group around them, if they can catch up, well, that remains to be seen. Yeah,
I think they are really trying to catch up, and they will at some point.
Yeah, you could see that. They went really tight round the bend there, didn't they?
Yeah. And also the first group is not sharing the lead. So it was all the time, it was actually Begonia Lazanko taking the lead. And maybe she's getting a little bit tired.
Yeah, you're right. And then we had 15 and 17, which is Betlachova from Czech Republic and Yang Luan from China. Oh, no, it's not. It's certainly 15. It's certainly the Czech pal. I'm not quite sure who's on her wash.
I don't see the number, boat number.
We'll get a look at that in a minute now. That's the Slovakian. There we go.
Katarina Pechukova.
Pechukova. So these 2, they're not far behind, are they?
Yeah, I am sure they are working hard to catch up. And if they work together, they will manage to join the first group.
Yeah,
they're almost there.
Sense it, can't they? Someone's going to go, surely. Someone's going to go for that wash in the middle of the diamond, aren't they?
Yeah, I think they tried that. And it looks like from the first group, no one is reacting.
No, just steadily away. Oh, it's going to be interesting, because we've already got a group of 4. Only 3 medals available, so it will really be interesting. We might see some sort of manoeuvring before the final lap as well, see if they can break it down to a smaller group, particularly if the other 2 join in. 6 is a big group to have, isn't it?
Yeah, it is pretty big, especially at the turning points. It's really hard to turn with too many people in the group. Boats can collide, and sometimes they just hit each other's paddle, which can be uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's right. There's just a little bit of a chat actually between the two Spanish paddlers. Don't know if you noticed that. First of all was it was Miriam Vega just having a look round and then chatting to her teammate Begoña Lazcano. Not sure whether they're talking about the group behind or whether someone was going to take a turn at the front. It all seemed to remain the same, but they did have a little talk.
Yeah, probably they just gave each other feedback about the current situation. There is the next group coming.
Yeah, now this next group, are they happy being where they are? Do they want to get over that wash and then slot in?
I'm sure they are trying hard. But after the final sprint, everyone is a little bit tired, so they need to regain their energies.
Yeah, we might. So I guess we might see that over this lap now. Just perhaps take their time, gather their breath, if you like, and then perhaps try and make a move and get into that group. So Italian looks very comfortable, doesn't she?
Yeah, she does.
Cicali.
I'm sure when the time comes, she will just put on her rockets and
Yeah, the afterburners and try and move through. That's what Jenny Egan, number 13, will be looking to do. And then there's Bridget Hartley, not afraid of a bit of hard work. Oh, Anushka Freeman, British paddler, Nushi as she's known. Managed the DW, very famous marathon race this year, gaining a lot of experience, the Richmond paddler, but unfortunately this time, don't know what happened, but she's taken a swim, not unusual in this event.
yeah, as I said, when the boats or paddles they hit each other, it's some athletes, they just lose the balance.
Yeah, and in you go, and that's perhaps the word for number 15 there, because she's just trying to slot in to that wash directly behind number 2. Lechova, the Czech paddler, I think it was, just trying to get into that group. She's not far away at all. And again, number 5, Spanish athlete, just has a quick look round. Betlakova is, I'm not sure what she's doing there actually. She seems to have relaxed a lot.
Well, she was leading the second group until now.
Perhaps she's wants number 7. Perhaps she wants Pesukova to take the lead. But they've not made any inroads on that gap now, have they?
No, the gap is actually just growing.
This group just happy to stay in the group. Italian paddlers, say, just been doing the same whole way round, sitting on the wash, and yeah, Begoña Lazcano just seems happy to be in the front at the moment.
She looks comfortable. She seems like she has a good rhythm, and she looks like she could go with this rhythm forever. But for sure, from the inside, it's really hard to maintain the speed.
Yeah, and she doesn't want to back off too much. It'll let the other 2 paddlers catch up. So maybe she's just thinking, well, I'm fairly comfortable at the moment. I've still got a good sprint in me in the next few laps' time.
But it looks like the second and third group, maybe they are going to merge after a while.
Yeah, the third group's actually caught up. Those middle 2, haven't they? Or nearly caught them up. There they are. They're working well together. That's the group that's got Jenny Egan from Ireland, and that's who I mentioned. You know, she's been a multi-medalist over this distance. She's sitting in that V-wash at the back, in the middle of the diamond. She'll be very much hoping that group can pick up the other 2 paddlers ahead of them, and maybe even the front group. As we see the rest of the paddlers making their way around in small groups. I think 3 more of these small laps to go before the end.
There is another athlete swimming at the turning point.
Oh dear, right. Well, let's hope she's okay. Yeah, she's getting out of a boat into the rescue boat. Rescue people doing their job. They've been here all weekend, just quietly going about their business. Absolute priority that they're here. And huge thank you to the Czech organisers here for providing them, and to the rescuers for doing such a good job. So there we go, we've still got the 4 in exactly the same positions they were in the first lap. We've got a gap to the next two, and then a small gap to the 4 after that. So 2 and 5, Lazcano and Vega, both Spanish. Italian at number 6, Chigali, and then the Chinese paddler.
And all 4 of them, they look really satisfied with their current position. No one seems to make a move.
Yeah, they just seem to be processing round, trying to count the laps down maybe. Think, right, okay, let's just stay as we are and we'll fight it out in the sprint to the finish.
That's actually a good strategy. It's smart to save energies.
Yeah.
And now they don't even have the danger that the second group is going to catch them because they stayed behind.
Yeah, so this group have done enough. And just the Italian paddler looking around at the coaches on the side there, perhaps taking a little bit of advice. This is one of the groups a little bit further behind.
From this angle, everyone looks so close.
Yeah, I think we've got one group in sort of second now. So we've got a group of 4, followed by a group of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Quite a big group behind them there. Going to be quite a lot to ask them to catch up. You never know. So the lead group, and that's not the group you can see on your screen currently. It's a group that's a little bit further back. The lead group making their way to the turn, which is just opposite the finish tower. And that's the Italian Cicalo. There they go, round the turn. That's all 4 of them are still there.
And the gap is more or less 30 meters between the 2 groups.
Well, it'll be the bell next time round, so there's a lot of time. This group behind them, it's a big group of 5, need to work hard to see if they can catch up this lead group. And then it'll be a really exciting sprint for the line.
They are actually working hard, so the second group is cooperating, working together.
They are, aren't they? Bridget Hartley's down there, and Jenny Egan. So the South African, the Irish paddler, and also Bechlakova, the Czech paddler, putting in the work there. She's now taking the wash at the back, whilst number 7, which is Bechlakova from Slovakia, moves on to the side. So they're not too far behind.
They are not, and they understand it very well that everyone has to put into the work a little bit, and then they have a good chance to catch up with the first group.
Yeah, they have to. You're right. They know they've no choice. If they're going to have any chance of catching this first group, they're going to have to work together. This is where all of a sudden they're very happy to work as a team. There's 4 of them now. They've cut it down. There they are. Bridget Hartley, as we said before, she is not afraid of hard work, Bridget. She really knows they're going to have to work hard, even if she works a little bit harder than she'd want to. She wants to be on the back of this group. I wonder if this group are aware of that, whether they can sense it. Look at that, we can see the bow of the group behind.
Yeah, they are really not far. But I'm sure at the same time, the first group also gets warning from the coaches. So they are pretty much aware how much is the gap, if they need to change something.
Yeah, and are they willing, who's willing to put the work in order to keep that gap big? I would think not the Spanish paddler who's done all the work at the front, Lazcano.
It's very interesting to see that all 3 races so far, they had the same strategy. Like there was one person leading all the way, and no one actually tried to take the lead during the race. No one managed. And now the Chinese athlete is actually trying.
She is, and that's interesting because she had probably the worst wash as well. So maybe she thinks, well, if I lead, the group will form around me. And Bridget Hartley Jenny Egan, both working really, really hard. Sukova as well, I think, is in there. Yeah, and in fact, the Chinese paddler has tried really hard there, hasn't she? But Yang Luan has been sort of put in her place once again by the Spanish paddler, perhaps finding herself in the same position as Carlo Tacchini. Now it's close enough to the end that she just wants to keep the lead.
And they are heading to the last lap, so I think it's a very good position to start the last lap as the leader of the group, because then the other ones, they have to fight for breaking through the wash.
Yeah, and the Chinese paddler, I think she thought she was, I
she
don't know
was
if she thought it was the last lap maybe, but
Yeah.
she's made a bit of an error there, and she might be consumed by the group behind her now. You can see from the body
yeah.
language, she's kind of just given up a little bit. And the ones behind her can sense it, can't they? They're picking it up again. They lost a little bit in that battle at the front. The second group lost a bit of distance. Now they can sense they can pick up the Chinese paddler, but can they get on terms with those top three? And the first three now will know, right, if I just stay in this group, the worst I can do is get the bronze medal.
Yeah, they look pretty safe. The Chinese athlete made a mistake. She didn't wait for the bell to ring.
Nobody told her about the bell. Oh dear. Not the first time that's happened though.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just so confusing. In total it's 6 laps, and it's hard to count when you're on the race.
Well, that's the thing, it's amazing, isn't it? And perhaps people watching who've never taken part in this sort of thing before, it's hard for people to appreciate that when you're so focused on tactics and you're physically working so hard, your brain perhaps hasn't got the capacity to compute all those other things as well.
Yeah, I experienced that many times. when we are doing intervals and I'm trying to calculate the minutes, it's just not working out.
You just need someone to tell you, don't you,
Yeah.
and shout it out. Bridget Hartley having a quick look round there. Now they've got onto the Chinese paddler, but these Spanish paddlers are working hard now. There's a bit of a grimace on the face of Lazcano, but she knows she's got to get round this bend, and if she can stay in the lead, just keep her nose in front of everyone else, she can take the win. I don't think the other two are going to let her have it though.
I'm sure they will try, but Lazcano looks very strong on this race. So maybe she will not allow anyone else to take her gold medal.
Yes, techniques look good, doesn't it? It's been consistent right the way through.
Yeah,
She's just waiting now.
She has strong strokes, and I'm sure when the moment comes, she can also increase her stroke rate.
The Italian's gone, so there goes the Italian. But it's elicited a response. You can see in the stroke rate there from Lazcano. She's picked it up. There's still a fair way to go yet. They're just coming through the 200-meter buoy, so about another 40 seconds. So looks like the second Spanish paddler hasn't got anything left. So Miriam Vega is going to be happy, I think, to settle for third place. Jenny Egan, they're really pushing, giving absolutely everything, number 13, to see if she can pick up that bronze medal. I think she's going to struggle a little bit from there, but the wheels are really coming off Miriam Vega's attempt at the moment. She's probably going to hold on for the bronze, but this is all about the gold medal. Both really picking it up, both really grimacing. The technique still holding up for Lazcano. She is not letting this one go. Like Carlo Tacchini before her, she's just got the edge and actually beginning to pull away a little bit, the Spanish athlete, to add to the already successful regatta that Spain are having. So she will take the gold medal. Italy picks up another medal, taking the silver. She's delighted at that. And then Spain, once again, get the bronze.
And I'm sure Miriam Vega is also very satisfied. She was happy to have just hang there during the whole race and taking the bronze medal.
She was, yeah. And nice to see these two competitors. You know, we've seen this a number of times right the way through the weekend, that they, of course, they want to beat each other when they're on the water, but they know how much training it takes, and they know the pain it goes through in training and in racing to get to this stage, and so they can appreciate the competition from their rivals.
Yeah, and many of these athletes, they spend time together in training camps, and they are actually good friends. So that's the great thing about this sport, that we get to know so many people from so many countries. And that's one thing, that we are enemies on the water, but we can be friends outside of the water. That's great.
Well said. And that's, that's a wonderful thing about canoeing. It's not necessarily the same in every sport. As you see Miriam Vega in third place there, it's a really friendly community. It's like a family, canoeing, and that's great to see. And really important, really important. Now I hope that that Lazcano will come down and have a word with Ross on the pontoon. He's waiting patiently. She's just perhaps having a moment to chat to her teammate and discuss the tactics. Teammate perhaps thanking her for giving her a little bit of space on the inside of the bends. But they work well together. And Italian asked a lot of questions, put her under pressure, but she was able to be strong enough to hold her off. A little bit of a team talk that they're having there. I wonder what they're saying to each other.
For sure, they are both happy to be on the podium.
Yeah, I think, as you said, Miriam Vega seems satisfied. There she's in third place. So 23 minutes. Begona Lazcano just ahead of Susanna Cicali, and then Miriam Vega and Jenny Egan this time round missing out on the medals, but she wasn't far away. And there we can see only 13 finishes.
The times are pretty much similar to canoe men times. Lately I noticed that canoe men are slightly faster, even though it's more difficult for them to turn. But it's good. It's always good to compare the times.
So canoe men and the kayak women are quite similar, yeah. So the women will be a little bit quicker around the bends, but the men perhaps in a straight line a little bit faster.
Yeah, exactly.
Something interesting to compare themselves to. Well, I think they're both Spanish athletes are down there on the pontoon with Ross. She's given herself plenty of time, Begona Lazcano, just to recover, but she's down there with Ross now. Let's see what she has to say.
Congratulations. What a race.
Yes, incredible. I don't know what to say. It was a hard race, but
How hard?
we did, both of us,
Yeah.
Spain team.
How hard was that last lap? Because there was two of you, your teammate.
The Chinese athlete was going to the finish line, so I didn't know if it was the end of the race or not. So I was sprinting and saying, I think it's one lap left, and then calm down again and try to recover from the fourth, and finally it was a good race at the end.
Yeah, and Spanish 1 and 2, so that's pretty exciting. Well done, congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Well, Christine, that's exactly what we were saying, isn't it? Even though the bell goes, sometimes, when you're in that red zone, you're in the pain, it's been a tough race, you can get the wrong end of the stick sometimes. That's what happened to the Chinese athlete, isn't it? She thought, I think, she was on the last lap and sprinted, and she wasn't, and it's easily to become confused when you're on the limit.
Yeah, exactly.
Great picture that, with all the different boats going around the bend. A little bit of a problem at the back there. There were a few capsizes, as you spotted. Thankfully, those people have been rescued and they're okay. But exciting racing, lots of tactics going in, lots of conserving energy by using the wash, and some great sprinting and determination as well. And that's what endurance 5K racing is all about.
I would be actually curious what happens if the Chinese athlete is not miscalculating the rounds. That would maybe mix up everything. But well, she made this mistake.
Yeah, as we see one of the paddlers go over there. Yeah, you're right, and she probably won't make that mistake next time. I mean, it might well be that the Chinese don't race these long distance races, so although they're quite quick, there's still a little bit to learn tactics-wise.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much experience she had on this distance, but some of them probably this is the first time that they are racing 5K. So this is definitely the distance where you need experience.
Well, and she's getting that at the top level here at a World Cup. And The Spanish have done distance racing for a long time, have that in their national championships as well. So we're just going to have a quick look at the medal ceremony. This is the men's C1 5,000 meters.
Single 5,000 meters event. The medals will be presented by Martin Dukton, 2 times Olympic champion. The bronze medalist is Jose Cordova, Cuba.
There is the Cuban winner, Cordova. Jose Cordova. I think that was Martin Doctor presenting the medals. C1 Olympic champion. I think it was 1996, if I remember rightly. Czech paddler.
Thanks to Sergei Madrigal.
Sergei Madrigal, very experienced Cuban. Well, he pushed Carlo Tacchini really hard, didn't he?
Yeah.
But after a disappointing weekend, Carlo Tacchini finished off with a flourish and is deserved winner of the gold medal. So, Italian team pleased with that? Good, as are the Cubans. Standard podium selfie there.
Yeah, it's almost compulsory.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. Not quite sure what they do with it, but there we are. See the background, lovely day. Great conditions here for racing.
Yeah.
A little bit of a breeze, but nothing to worry about too much. And the final event is coming up. Great to see João Duarte there, Portuguese paddler. He'll be on the far side, which could be difficult, but he had a wonderful race with Fernando Pimenta in the K2 and only just a senior. Then we've got the likes of John Vold, Norwegian, and his brother Eidvin Vold. And then a certain Fernando Pimenta. Heard that name before?
Maybe a few times.
Once or twice, absolutely, yeah. He's having a good regatta here, isn't he? Arthur Peters, of course, from Belgium is good. Dan Johnson, who won the B final in the men's K1000 metres British. I'll be looking forward to seeing him and Tom Lusty take part. Bojan Zdela from Serbia. Bojan,
yes.
Apologies. I'm learning all the time there. Bojan Zdela and also Jakob Thorsden. Really, really impressive in the men's K1 500 metres.
Yeah, we have many experienced paddlers here. And in this 5-kilometer race, a lot of big names line up. It's always a prestige for K1 man who is winning K1 5,000 meter. So many athletes from the 1,000 meter final are here.
Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing the likes of Tim Brabants, Max Hoff, you know, doing so well. Fernando Pimenta's done this many times, hasn't he? Ali Urania was always a good competitor over this distance. And nice to see them really going toe-to-toe over the long-distance races. Ken Wallace, of course.
So in women race, some of the women athletes, they are even specialized for 5,000, while others are rather for short distance. But here, all the 1,000 paddlers, they also want to show themselves on this distance.
Well, Cubans really pleased there. They've got a crowd of supporters there, which is good to see, and just gives me an opportunity to ask you about physically about 1,000 metres and 5,000 metres. Would you say it's pretty much the same training in order to prepare yourself, not tactically, but you know, 1,000 metres is an aerobic event, so is 5,000 metres. Are we talking similar training for that?
Yeah, I think with 1,000 meter training, you have pretty good chances also on 5,000 meter, because basically you need the same strong aerob system, and you need to have a good endurance for both of these distances. So I think it's pretty useful to train for 1,000, and then you can succeed also 5K.
Okay.
As we can see it in the case of Fernando Pimenta.
Yeah, really good endurance training, isn't it? And I imagine finishing off a weekend when you've competed in K2 1,000 meters, K1 1,000 meters, you just must be exhausted by this point, and yet you're going to push yourself even harder at an endurance event. Look at that, what a sight to see. Paddles flying, water flying, paddlers vying right the way across this course here at the Labe Arena. Maybe number 35 getting the best of the stars. Always interesting to see who gets away really, really quickly. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be the winner in the end. That's Denmark's Thorbjørn Rask. But we really have packed. We've got 35 competitors in this event. No doubt Pimenta will be there or thereabouts. He is right in the middle of the course there. Dan Johnson will be pleased that he started quite close to him. And just perhaps 3 main groups forming at the minute. One on the left of your screen, there in the pole position, if you like, for the bend. One in the middle, which is at the minute is a little bit too big. And then one on the right-hand side that's going to have to, at some point, get across. Now, thankfully, Fernando Pimenta has put his red cap back on. Didn't have it on in the K2, which was a little bit disconcerting. But he's there in the black boat red cap. And the other group has formed around the Danish paddler, number 35, which is Thorbjørn Rask. There he is. Tom Lusty's in there as well, British paddler with his sun visor on.
Yeah, Denmark is becoming very good lately on the long events, also on marathon.
Yeah, Danish got a good tradition in it, haven't they? As have the Norwegians, and both Norwegians are in there. Really good positions at the moment. And also number 15, you can see there, Quaid Thompson, New Zealander. Actually, no, sorry, I think that's number 16. I think it's the Argentinian.
He's from Argentina. Yeah.
Rodriguez. So he's in a look at that. It's a huge group. That at the moment is a group that is very unwieldy and far too big. It's not going to stay like that, and not so much giving people room there.
Yeah, it looks like now at this point they are not so nice to each other, but when the group is getting smaller, maybe they will become more friendly.
Yeah, indeed. Ripamonti, Italian there. Well, he just got pushed on the inside. But to be fair to him, he went back and he wants to make sure he does get round there. You can see on the left of your screen there, lots of bumping and bashing. Another paddler, that's number 2, who's missed out on the buoy there. That's the American Cole Jones. And Fernando Pimenta is just in charge here, isn't it? And there must be some younger paddlers thinking, well, I'm not going to try and mess up Fernando Pimenta. I don't want to get in his way.
For sure, even his name is too scary.
That's right,
to
yeah.
Try to attack.
A huge amount of respect for him, and rightly so. He's earned that respect over the last 10 years, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Norwegians, they're just moving through. And this is where, look how choppy it is, very difficult. Tom Lusty caught in the waves there. Number 24 is not in a great position there. He's very, very experienced, a Slovenian though, Jost Jakrasek. He's almost 40 years old, but then Maxime Beaumont is 40 years old and he's still making finals at World Cups.
Yeah, I always say age is just a number. This is a senior World Cup, so...
You can be any age you like.
Exactly.
Absolutely, and you're right actually, of course, because we have some young athletes coming through, like we mentioned, the young Portuguese athlete just out of the junior ranks, João Duarte, right up to the likes of Max Beaumont, who's still going really strongly. And there's always ways you can develop, maybe not in the same physical way you did when you were in your 20s, but in racecraft, in experience, making the right move at the right time. That can often come with age.
And it looks like in the meantime, Agustin Rodriguez took the lead.
Ah, interesting. So Rodriguez.
That was a brave step.
It was indeed. The Argentinian, yeah, just had a quick look around to say, is that okay, Pimenta?
And it looks like it's okay.
It does, yeah. It'll be interesting to see. There's too many still in this group, aren't there? And you've got 3 in a row getting on the inside. Fernando Pimenta's still in pole, well, not pole position, but pretty much. He's just on the first wash there. Really tight to the bend there, isn't it? Look at that. Hugging the bend, Rodriguez, I should say. Really tight, almost on the wrong side of that boy. Oof.
He doesn't let anyone on his left side.
Nobody
And that's smart
at all.
of him.
He hadn't read that unwritten rule, had he?
Well, in men's race, maybe it doesn't exist.
Indeed, maybe. Oh, he's had a stop there. He doesn't really want to lead the rest of this way. That's interesting. We didn't see that, did we, in the men's C1, in the women's kayak? The lead is quite happy to lead. But I guess at the moment it's a big group, so there's no gap at the moment to try and protect. So they might find there's even more cat and mouse moving around.
Yeah, that's why men's race is so hard, because you need to stay so focused. There is always something going on and you must react whenever the leading person is changing, so you can never leave focus and concentration.
Yeah, it's like high-speed chess, isn't it? You've got to think tactically but do it quickly. And we spoke about this earlier, having a plan, of course, but being able to adapt that plan is really, really important. Jos Zakrasek, well, he's using every inch of his experience now.
Let's see what's going to happen to those people on the second and third wash.
Yeah, they're going to be on the inside. I doubt they're going to be given very much space, are they? We've got 5 short laps here as well, so lots of turns, which is why they put these small laps in, because things happen at the bends. Pimenta really is in a good position there. He's on the inside, he's on the first wash, and he's not doing all the work. So Erik Hedin, the Swedish paddler in the black cap, going well at the moment. Pimenta just choosing to go a little bit wider there, actually. Maybe perhaps he's trying to move around the wash. He was on the inside, now he's taking the outside.
Yeah, being on the outside is safer sometimes.
Yeah, particularly perhaps he's realised, look, nobody's giving anyone any room here, so actually I might be better off on the outside. And if he can pick and choose, which he seems to be able to do, then fair enough. Artur Peters there, very experienced at the long distance racing, the Belgian as well. He's right up there. And as we mentioned, the young Danish paddler, Thorbjorn Rask, is still there, only 22 years old. But as you said, Dane's doing well at the distance racing.
And he was last year at the Marathon World Championship medalist in under 23.
Ah.
He's definitely experienced for these wash riding races.
He knows what it takes. Yeah, and you can see actually not only do they have the wash, but because there's so many paddlers in this race, it's quite choppy out there generally. So Pimenta just having a quick look round there. Still a fairly big group. This looks like 6 perhaps, and then 2 just behind it. And Rodriguez going well.
He's trying to take position again, the Argentinian paddler.
Yeah, but he's on the inside. He's not been given much room, is he? Mind you, he didn't give anybody else much room when it was his turn. So fair enough. Let's go Pimenta, giving himself space. So important. He seems to be in prime position. And knowing the form he's in at the moment, it's very difficult to see past him winning this. But you never know.
Yeah, in men's race, so many things can change in just 1 second.
Well, we'll have to keep a close eye on the racing, won't we? Zakrasek, I should say. I was going to say he's out of trouble at the front, at least. Pimenta is happy to take the lead on for a little bit. We might see that chopping and changing perhaps a little bit more than we've seen in the previous races. There's a possibility of a gap forming here. Pimenta sort of wants to put the hammer down. We'll see. He might just relax happily, just sitting at the front for a bit. Let the groups form around him. Now 29 we can see Erik Hedin, the Swede, perhaps just trying to get on terms, but actually Pimenta and Zakrasek have a little bit of a gap.
And every turning point is a good chance to increase this gap. Because with a big group, it's always harder to turn. So I think they are very, very well aware of that.
Good point. Yeah, we'll just see when we pan out a little bit and what the gap is. Yeah, it is a gap, but it's the Danish paddler again, working very hard. High stroke rate there. Just wants that second wash.
He seems very motivated to catch the first group, and there he is.
He is, and there's a big gap now between those 3 and the rest of the field, so he's done very well there. Moving right in. This is the wash we talked about, which is a powerful wash, but a very difficult one to stay on, especially when it moves around as it does now. Pimenta drops back.
They know they must work hard, they must work together to keep the leading position. So they do quick changes about the leading of the group. That's how they can keep the second group away.
Yeah, in the second group, I was just looking from the finish tower position. They're not far off. There's certainly a possibility if they put the work in together that they could catch these three. So Fernando Pimenta just cruising now. He's married now, Fernando. He has a young child, family. Very popular in Portugal. Changed clubs from Ponte de Lima, now in Benfica. And was delighted with his medal at the Olympic Games. But evidently wants to carry on, and there's no stopping him. So the gap actually has widened a little bit now, hasn't it? And I think that this first group, as long as they're careful, should be able to stay ahead of the second group of three.
They are definitely working hard in the first group. For Jost, it's a big chance to be back on the podium.
Yeah, we've seen him in these 5K events many times, haven't we?
Yeah.
Actually, good to see there again. We've still got João Duarte from Portugal doing well. I think he's in the second group. The young paddler. No, he's not in the second group. He's in the third group, not too far behind. So second group with three in there, which includes the Swedish paddler, Erik Hedin. So is Fernando Pimenta going to try and pick it up again now, or is he just happy to be where he is? Well, he seems reasonably happy. I think the Danish paddler can sense that Pimenta wants to pick it up.
Yeah, exactly. He changed position. He went on the outside, which was a good move. I think he expects that Fernando Pimenta will take the lead soon. Now he's going back.
Yeah, just trying to second guess Fernando Pimenta. Pimenta seems happy to sit on Zakraszek's wash.
All three of them, they look relaxed and stable.
Yeah, they do, don't they? They do. Just a quick look round there from the leader, thinking, I don't really want to do all the work in this race.
But I think Slovenian paddler is also very desperate to take a medal here.
Yeah, so he might be happy. Well, he probably will be happy, yes, to take a medal. So even if it's a bronze.
Yeah, I think he didn't make it to the A final, so this will be whichever medal it will be.
Yeah, and great to see actually Slovenians in the women. You know, they've come out of the K2, they're in the K1s, and it's going well for them.
Yeah.
Certainly this stage of the season.
Yeah, it was a successful World Cup for this small country.
Yeah, it is. Very, very small country in sprint canoeing terms, isn't it? You know, that they have more success and facilities in slalom, but very, very small team for sprint.
Yeah. It looks like the gap in between the first and second group is just growing.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? You're right. Well spotted. It's going to be difficult to see them coming back from that. I think this is the end of the third lap, so 2 laps to go. We've got to do something really spectacular to get on terms with these three. Don't think that's going to happen. So I wonder if it's entered the minds of the other two, not Pimenta, but to think, look, I'll just be happy to stay in this group. Obviously, I'll have a go at the sprint, but, you know, they'll be pleased to take a medal. And different ends of the age spectrum there as well. You know, we've got somebody starting out, well, relatively in their career with Thorbjørn Rask, the Danish paddler, and the other two more towards at the experienced end.
Yeah. Yeah, but as we spoke before, I think in Denmark, this long distance paddling, it has a good tradition, long tradition. So despite of his age, I think Torbjörn has as much experience as the other two paddlers on this distance.
Yeah, as you said, also experienced in under 23 marathons. And that will count for a lot, won't it, tactically on this?
Yeah. But right now he is just hanging on the wash. When the moment comes, I'm sure he will try to make a better place than third.
Yeah, so we're probably talking about 1 lap's time from right here. They're still sort of looking at each other, aren't they? Just seeing, right, how tired does he look? Just trying to keep aware of the situation, waiting for something to happen. As they round the top bend. Next time they do this, they'll be jostling for position, I guess, for the sprint for the line. And they're a long way ahead of the rest of the field now.
Yeah. It's 1.5 laps left for them. So I think Fernando Pimenta made a good decision to go in the front. And from now on, he will try to defend his position.
Yeah, and we said that, you spotted exactly that with Tacchini, didn't you? The Italian, as well as the Spanish paddler in the previous race. Bagona Lascano. They both were in that position with a lap to go, and they were determined to stay there. That's a classic, almost textbook, isn't it, that? This is how you sit on a wash.
Yeah, exactly.
The boat positioning, just giving enough distance for Pimenta's paddle to work, not bumping into him, holding position, using that wash.
Yeah, and I think at this point they are already nice to each other at the turning point.
Yeah.
They are not. They are leaving enough space for the paddler on the close side.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say Pimenta was over generous, but he's left enough room. Just a sneak through there. Danish paddler, as you said, experienced, he'll be used to that. Right, there's the bell. So Pimenta in pole position. He'll be just thinking, right, just get to the end of this, make sure I'm careful around the bend, and then wind it up towards the finish. It's probably what the other two are thinking as well.
And as I can see, there will be a big fight for the 4th place.
There will, won't there? Yeah, I mean, how many are in that group? It's hard to see from here, but there are a lot of paddlers in there. Maybe 7 or 8. Battling out for position. There could be a bit of clattering and bumping round the next turn for them. Next turn is nearly here now for these three. The last event of this weekend of this World Cup. Do the same again next weekend, but in Poznan.
Yeah, I think all 3 of them go to Poznan.
Yeah, I think there's another similar number of countries to here, so
yeah.
Should be a popular event. You can watch that on Planet Canoe, of course. Looking forward to that one. We've still got a little bit of unfinished business before that starts with the finish of this race. That's the big group. 7 in that. Finish 4th, who finished 10th. Quite a difference.
And Agustin Rodriguez looks very motivated to get the 4th place.
He does, doesn't he? Yeah, he does look good. And now some jostling around there, as we thought there would be around the bend. keep half an eye on that lead group that still has Fernando Pimenta in the front. Just holding off the other paddlers as they get to the final 200 metres, and we should see the finish. He's not having to do anything different at the moment, Pimenta. He's waiting and he's waiting and he's waiting. Surely, as you said, Christina, the Danish paddler at least will have a go at this. So we're getting towards 100 metres to go now. Pimenta still very much in control, but he needs to be ready to accelerate. He's picking it up now, there he goes. He's sensed, I think, he sensed the Danish paddler having a go. Rask, he's really having a go at this. He's not far off. He's trying to get off the wash, and just if he can draw level with Pimenta. There really is centimetres in this now. He's whizzing round like a whirlwind, Rask. And oh, Pimenta dives for the line. I must say, I'm not sure he got that. Really fantastic finish.
He missed the finish line.
It's hard to know where it is from there. I'm not sure lunging for the line is the best thing to do. I think he just wanted it to be over.
Let's see who is the winner.
So I'm going to go for Denmark winning that one. That's quite a scalp to take for the young Dane. And here we go, as you said, rightly said, it's the Argentinian that comes in fourth. A good result for him.
Oh, first place,
Yes,
Denmark.
giving it to
well done.
Denmark. Thorbjørn Rask. Oh, good result for him. I think that's the first Danish gold medal of this World Cup. Denmark, of course, holding the World Championships last year, so good to see them very involved. In fact, Denmark have 2 silver medals already. So they're now got a gold to add to that. It'll move them up the medal table. Racice Czech picks up a bronze. So a really good regatta for the Slovenians.
Yeah, they were very successful this weekend.
So Spela Ponomarenko, of course, doing so well. Anja Osterman, both in their K1s. Look at that, he's really pleased with himself. He's thinking, did I actually beat Fernando Pimenta?
Yeah, I think he still can't believe it.
Yeah, it can't. It'd be really interesting to see him with Ross. He's on the pontoon now, still looking a little bit confused. But he's delighted, and he's with Ross.
Wow, what a finish. Can you believe it?
It was a pretty tough race, and like on the third lap, there was a little gap. So there I like use all my speed and energy. So I know I must just stay on the wash a lot of time. And yeah, the finish was quite good. I know that was my chance to just stay on the wash of Pimenta, and then the last lap try to do some good stuff.
You know, not many people outsprint Fernando Pimenta at the finish of a race, so you did a pretty good job there.
Thanks. It was pretty funny, and it was the race was pretty tough. So yeah, that was nice.
You do a lot of marathon. You were at the Marathon World Championships last year, and you did well there. So obviously you're used to the longer distances. What is the 5,000 like for you?
I think it's nearly maybe the I think it's the funniest things you could race, because it's not too long, so you're not too tired, and the speed is high all the time. So that's pretty nice. Yeah.
Congratulations! What a great result for you. Well done, Thorne. Well done.
A great result, a great way to end the weekend, and just really impressive from him there. He wasn't put off by the fact that he was racing against a multi-Olympic medalist and someone that everybody knows in the sport.
Yeah, it was definitely a brave move that he tried, and he succeeded. So.
Fernando Pimenta just climbed out of the boat and said, "I'm old." What a finish, mate.
Yeah, it's a young guy, very fast. I try to push a little bit more, and I don't see the finish line. I think it is in the yellow one, but it's 3 meters after. But he won, and he won very easy but clean.
Well, I don't think it was easy. It was very close. You held off that last sprint just to the last 100 meters or so. Did you think you had the race won then?
Yeah, I try to push a little bit more in the last meters, but after this morning I'm a little bit tired and I don't recover well, but I think we do another great show, very clean in the head of the race, and I hope next times, next World Cup don't have portage, please, because the porters it's
Every time you do that, you break your
break the boats, the paddles, and some I remember in 19 in Poznan I have a very big injury in my leg, and please save us and save the 5K.
Well done. What a great weekend for you though, Fernando. 2 golds and a silver. Well done. See you next weekend.
Yeah, thank you. See you. Bye.
Quite a regatta, Fernando Pimento, and a measure of the man there, really, that he said, look, well done. It was a fair race, and it was, wasn't it? You know, there was nothing untoward going on there, and he just didn't quite have it at the end, but a very good regatta for him as a whole. So Thorbjorn Rask takes the win in around 20 minutes. Fernando Pimento after that, Jost Zakraszek. Well, thank you for joining me, Mally Johnson, on Planet Canoe for the World Cup here in Racice. We'll see you very soon in Poznan next weekend. And Christina, will you be in Poznan racing?
No, I won't be racing in Poznan. Now I take a little break, and we will see for the rest of the season.
Well, good luck. Good luck with the rest of the season. Thank you for joining me, and we hope that we'll see you at the World Championships in Halifax in Nova Scotia towards the beginning of August. But from both of us, from Racice, we'd say goodbye. See you next weekend.